You're listening to Season 2, Episode 15 of the Cowgirl Confessions Podcast, featuring Nikki Callison with Callison Ranch Beef. Hey y'all, and welcome. You're listening to the Cowgirl Confessions Podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Dawn Johnson, small-town cowgirl with southern roots, blazing a trail as a Midwest ranch wife, mama, and businesswoman. The mission of Cowgirl Confessions is to share the wonderfully wild and western life stories of cowgirls from all walks of life. We'll talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle. Legendary cowgirl Dale Evans said it best: "Cowgirl is a pioneer spirit, a special brand of American courage. The cowgirl faces life head-on, lives by her own lights, and makes no excuses. Cowgirls take stands. They speak up. They defend the things they hold dear. A cowgirl might be a rancher, a barrel racer, a bull rider, or an actress, but she's just as likely to be a checker at the local Winn-Dixie, a full-time mother, a banker, an attorney, or an astronaut. If you're into wet saddle blankets, talks with God, buckets full of laughter, and the life lessons learned in the process, kick off your boots and settle in. I pray these stories encourage, empower, and give you just the leg up you need. Here's to embracing the cowgirl state of mind, no matter how wild and western life may get along the way." Hello, friend. Thank you for joining us. I am thrilled to have Nikki Callison of Callison Ranch Beef on the podcast today to share her story. She's an Oklahoma cowgirl that loves God, her family, history, sunsets, and steaks. And she's also one of those women that can literally do anything. I've been able to watch her a little bit closer in action over the past few years. Fun fact, Nikki is actually my sister-in-law, Ayla, who introduced me to my husband. It's her aunt. And so, from photography to being hostess of the mostest at baby showers and all the things in between, I've gotten to know Nikki, and it's just such an honor today to have her on the podcast so that she can share more of her really inspiring story. So Nikki, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Dakota. I'm really excited to be on the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm excited to have a few minutes to chat with you this morning.
Yes, me too. Well, let's get started. And can you just share with me and the listeners kind of what your upbringing was like and your ties to the Western way of life?
Well, I grew up on a ranch in southern Oklahoma, about a 2,000-acre cattle ranch. We raised cattle and horses. My parents' motto for the ranch was raising kids, cattle, and quality horses. And they did just that. I have 4 brothers. I am second in line, so I have 3 younger, and I'm almost like a second mom to them. But I grew up riding horses and helping my parents on the ranch, but also loving all kinds of different things. And when I grew up and decided to go to college, I really wanted to see beyond the ranch, I guess you should say. And I went to college and got a degree in history, and I taught school for about 10 years. In the Dallas area. Absolutely loved it. But at one point, I realized that there was nowhere in the Dallas area that I could go, that it was quiet and that it was wide open country. And I really started missing that lifestyle and how I grew up, and just decided that I needed to get back to Oklahoma and that area. And of course, I wasn't sure how that was going to happen, and actually went to the National High School Rodeo Finals with my younger brothers and was telling my brother Cord how I was feeling. And he and I sat by the trailer and prayed about it. And I decided to resign from my position as teacher and not go back that fall. And when I moved back to Oklahoma, 2 weeks later, I met my husband, Roger. So I guess it was meant to be.
Oh man. Yeah. And I can just imagine, you and Cord sitting there at the trailer, praying together over something like that. And man, he's a great guy. I've gotten the chance to, know him too over the past few years, just rodeoing and whatnot. And so you come from an incredible family. And I love your family's kind of tagline about, raising the kids and quality horses and all of that. I mean, that's really what this podcast is all about too. And just women having that cowgirl state of mind. And it's so great that you were able to share that with Cord, and then God went to work on those prayers.
He does. He does his thing.
Absolutely. Okay, so then you got back home, you met Roger, and so what happened next?
Well, I moved back to Oklahoma, and my cousin and I rented a house, and I found a job actually teaching school, but this time with a little bit of a twist. I was teaching at I guess you'd call it a psychiatric hospital for junior high kids. Okay. So it was kind of a interesting situation, but I met Roger actually through a mutual friend who kept saying that we would be perfect for each other. And I had been in a really bad relationship. I was not interested. I just wanted, some time. And Roger had really experienced some great tragedy in his personal life. If you follow us on Instagram at Callison Ranch Beef, I have a hashtag Callison Ranch Love Story, and I tell a lot more detail there. But Roger lost his wife and his 2 children in a car accident. And so he was at a time in his life that he was, had prayed that God help him to go on with his life. And we met, both of us just really enjoyed that friendship, if you will. And I think that that's a great basis for any relationship. And we just both wanted somebody to go out to dinner with or to hang out with. And he had recently bought 20 heifers so that he had something in the evenings to go do, because he would make it through his work day, but the evenings I think were the hardest for him. And so that would take him out, and he had grown up ranching also. So I would go with him. We would stop at the store and get a barbecue sandwich that they called a juicy pig, and go out and check the heifers and talk about life and give each other some space. And we talked a lot about both of our futures, and our love grew, and we eventually got married.
It gives me chills. And I just so appreciate how you shared, I've followed that hashtag and was like anxiously awaiting every time you'd make a new post, to share a little bit more of your story, because again, like so much of it, and you gave full credit, like God was at work in so many ways, through connecting you guys and just through every little bit of your story. So for you listening, be sure to go follow that hashtag to hear more about their story. And I even had somebody, Nikki, say, have you and Roger ever thought about like having a movie made about your love story? I would buy the tickets to go to the movie. Like, I'm just saying.
Buy the tickets to the movie. Well, I'm trying to think who would play Roger.
Oh gosh, I don't know that anybody could do y'all justice. You would just have to play yourself. But considering what all you have going on, that may have to be something for a little later down the road, because y'all are busy right now, like real busy.
We are, but not any more than anybody else. Life takes you through seasons. I think that's one thing that as women I've learned the most is I really, when I was younger, wanted to do it all right now, afraid that if I wasn't doing it all right now, I would miss out. And I realize now that probably even more than men, I think women have seasons of their life. And so this is a season that is new for us. We started 2 years ago selling our beef direct, and direct to families. We ship it all over the USA. And with COVID, that has really jumped, and we are building a market here on the ranch. So yeah, not only are we busy with the regular ranch duties, but this new venture has been scary and exciting at the same time.
Oh man, I can't even imagine, all the logistics and planning that have went on with that. And I want to ask you more, because some of the listeners had sent in questions. So I've got quite a few questions for you about that. But I want to go back, Nikki, because
you and Roger, you met, you fell in love, you got married, but that was really just kind of the beginning. You have a whole nother unique part of your story and how you guys built your family.
Yes, yes. When Roger and I were dating, I knew that I could not have children. I was born that way, not able to. Found out when I was 18, and I knew that Roger wanted to be a father again. He loved being a father, and that was something we were dating that I was very hesitant to share with him. And I told my mom one day, and she could not believe that I had not already told him that. And so it was definitely something that that was difficult for me. And I sat down with him and told him that I would not be able to have children. And in true cowboy fashion, he sat there for a moment and he looked at me and he said, "Well, I'm looking for a wife, not a mare." So I thought, well, that was easier than I expected.
Yeah.
But so immediately when we were going to get married, we had already been talking about adoption, knowing that that would take us, some time to do that. And there again, God works in mysterious ways. We had applied a couple of different places. We were looking to actually go to Russia. We were signed up for that. We had the Department of Human Services do our home study so that we could use it through attorneys or whatever we wanted to do. And the caseworker there kept calling and would say, would you be interested in this situation or that situation? And we were somewhat hesitant because Roger had lost his children, and we didn't feel like we were the best fit for a foster family at that time, just because we didn't want to get attached and lose again. And but anyway, they called us and said, "We have a sibling group of 3 that we would like to keep together, and we think that you guys can do it." And I guess growing up with 4 brothers and taking care of them, and then Roger also had been a father, that they thought we were up for that challenge. And our children at the time were 4, 2, and 16 months. And we met them, and 2 weeks later, they came home with us. And we didn't even have a plastic cup for a child to drink out of. So it was a whirlwind 2 weeks bringing them home. And probably a really difficult, if I'm being honest, first 3 months. Just, these kids had no structure. We didn't even know them, but they were ours. And having 3 littles is tough for anybody. And but we made it through it, and thank the Lord. And there again, in that Callison Ranch love story, I go a little deeper as to how it came about, because it was actually someone who, from very distant ties, that was in charge of making the decision about where these children went, had heard Roger's story. And so, Lord's working in there, and we had our little family within a year and a half of getting married. And so it's been an interesting road for Roger and I.
Oh, wow. Okay, Nikki, how many years ago has that been now?
That would be just almost 20 years. Yeah.
Okay.
So they're grown, and I have a new grandbaby now. So I am Lolly and Roger is Pop. So if that couldn't be any cheesier.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So just again, such a unique part of your guys' story. And I'm wondering, 20 years later, is there any, and you gave such great advice earlier when you were saying, you can't do it all and do it all well, especially, for women. There's seasons of life. And I just so relate to that, because I feel like we see so many places now, like, you can do it all and you can do, and there's nothing wrong with working towards multiple things, but it's really hard sometimes when you're seeing all of this other language out there, but then just trying to keep it real and the level of what you want to do well. We all have different expectations. And so I really related and appreciated you saying that. Felt like you were speaking some life into me when you said it. But what advice, looking back, would you give, your younger self, or even some of the people listening that are entering a really new phase of life that they prayed for. But like you said earlier, the first 3 months were really challenging. What would you say?
I would say that you really need to, you can do it all. You just can't do it all well at the same time. And you've got to figure out whatever season of life you're in, what are your priorities right there? I like this whole idea that's seems to be popular right now about being intentional. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a message that is coming about because not just cowgirls, but women in general, we need to think about that, because the world says, do it all, you can do it. And I'm afraid what suffers often is the home and our kids. And it's okay to take that season and say, you know what, I am going to do what's right for me and my family right now. And what's right for me and my family is, if you're in that season where you're really pouring into your littles, because that is so important. Nobody raises your kids like you. And or if you're in a season where you're saying, I've got more time, what can I do? That's really how selling our beef direct started for me. My youngest was graduating high school, and I thought, okay, I'm going to have a little more time. What do I see that I want to do? And this is something that I thought was a natural extension of our ranch. And I love people, and I love serving people, and that's where it went from there.
Oh yeah, and you're such a people person. I don't think there could be anything more better suited, I guess, than what you're doing right now. And in a lot of ways, I feel like you're still teaching because of just all the value that you provide and the things that you share on your social media platforms. And it's just really encouraging the way you go about sharing, your Western way of life and y'all's beef operation. And so, Nikki, I guess now, this past year has been super challenging for our entire nation, for the world, for that matter. But you said that, earlier, because of COVID, that really kind of made this demand for your beef, even more important. So can you just kind of walk us through how this whole idea for creating the market came to be?
Well, you're right. It has been a challenging time. And I'm just going to throw in here right now, Dakota, that these challenging times are definitely, we need more cowgirls.
Yes.
And we can talk more about that in a minute. But the market, when people looked, when COVID first started early in the spring, I don't know about where you live, but where we live, there was not as much meat on the shelf just because COVID had hit a lot of these processing plants, and the pipeline had kind of gotten bogged down, and people were looking to buy direct more. And we were already doing that in a position. So we had more and more people that not only wanted to buy direct, but the market came about because we are halfway between Dallas and Oklahoma City, and people would take their weekend and want to get out and would drive to the ranch just to pick up, a bag of beef here with us, and to see the ranch and to meet us. And we had, it started in a barn that I had cleaned out and had freezers. And Roger's the one who looked at me and said, if people are going to make the drive to the ranch and to see our way of life and to pick up their beef, then you need a market. You need a place that they want to come to, that they enjoy coming to. And so he's the visionary of the two of us, and he got that ball rolling.
So cool. So cool. So from there, because I've been to your home before, and like I had mentioned earlier, your hostess of the mostest, like, absolutely love your style. It's so inviting and welcoming. And so
you are too kind, Dakota.
Oh no, I'm serious. But not the kind that you're scared to touch stuff, and I think that probably comes from being part of a big family. And yes. So what has it been like just from so far in the layout of the market, kind of your design, visionary plans for that? You've shared quite a bit, behind the scenes of family members helping y'all get freezers and stuff ready. But what was the process like in planning it all out?
Well, it started, we have the barn that we originally started with was a metal barn that we used to just store extra things here on the ranch. And so we said, first of all, my top priority was the fact that I was shipping out of there year round. And that means in Oklahoma, triple digit heat in the summer and cold in the winter. And it was definitely uncomfortable. And we said, okay, we need to close this in and get some central heat and air in this place. So that was the beginning. And then we added on to that barn. And I really like for the market kind of that industrial style. We've got one wall that's brick, coming in with a lot of really warm woods and iron. And the process was just saying, first of all, how much is this going to cost, and what can we do? How can we do it well, but think about, how we spend our money. We were able to get some big freezers that had been slightly used. I don't know if I'm going about it how that you want.
Yeah.
But Roger, again, I have to give him lots of credit, because he would come in and he saw how we could use it beyond just freezers. It was his idea to install a garage door that's made of glass, and it opens the market on pretty days on one end up to a huge patio that overlooks a creek here on the ranch. And he loves to smoke beef and on a big smoker. And so he said, I can put a smoker out on this patio, and we can have people come, on a Saturday and eat, and maybe even have music or events, long table supper or something out there. So I appreciate him thinking, how can we make extensions of this? And so as we've just gone along, each decision, you just make it, whether it's the type of sink or the type of, what you're going to finish it out. But we've tried to think, how can we use this to better serve our customers? But also, Dakota, we all love going to some place that it was a fun experience. And so we wanted the market to have that feel.
Oh yeah, it definitely sounds like it does. And I'm such a visual person, so I was kind of selfishly asking for myself, because I'm like, we got to get down there,
I have another secret that I'm afraid I can't share just yet. It'll be 30 days before I can tell this, but I have, we've got a big surprise coming to the market that is I don't dare give any details yet because of the agreement that I've made, but it's going to make it an even better place for people to come and give it another element that I think people are going to want to travel to and enjoy.
Oh, so fun. I love a surprise. I'm not good at actually being the one to host a surprise or whatever. I can keep a secret, but boy, it's tough. But I love being surprised. So we'll have to stay tuned and see what you have going on there. Nikki, I want to back up for a minute, because we had talked before the podcast, and I just think what you guys are offering, the basically direct to consumer options, and you have some really neat, beef package options, or I think they're the beef boxes, right? That people can sign up for the monthly subscription, because my husband and I, we're in the cattle business as well, but we're not set up in a way it's more of a local play for us. And people are, when they can actually have the room to buy half a beef, a quarter of a beef, but that's not the case for a lot of people. And specifically the consumer that was used to going and buying a couple of packs of beef at the grocery store on the weekend to get them through the week. They don't necessarily always have the freezer space or the ability to purchase big quantities, but you guys solve that. You're the middleman there. So can you just tell us a little bit more about some of the options you have through your direct to consumer beef?
Yes, and you mentioned about our what we call our Ranchers Beef Club, where people can sign up and get a box of beef each month. And it actually is super flexible, because they can, once you subscribe, we just want to know how many subscribers we have so we can plan for that as far as processing our product. But you can pause, cancel, put it on hold if you're gone on vacation. I also email all of our subscribers each month and ask them if they have any requests. So with, like with Valentine's coming up, we'll have lots of people that'll say, oh, put us in some steaks so we can have those for Valentine's Day or whatever. So, and that grew out of, actually, backing up, my grandfather, Ray Tucker, was a Oklahoma State representative and also a rancher. And he sold his beef, he called it rancher's beef, and would take it, they'd put an ad in the Daily Oklahoman or the Tulsa World, letting people know where they would be at a certain time. And they had a big freezer trailer, and would come and people would pick up their box of beef and take it home. And you're right, you've absolutely described a lot of our customers is they're not looking to have a whole half, or they only want certain cuts. When you get a half of a beef, you've got a lot of cuts. Once you eat the steak, there's still lots of other things about the beef that you have in your freezer. So with our product, people can get exactly what they want and the amount that they want. Interesting enough, I have a lot of cattlemen that are my customers, and it's because they know what a good product is and they want premium beef, but maybe they're a cow-calf operation and they sell their calves every year, and they're not interested in the 2-year process of raising a calf, weaning the calf, then feeding out the calf until it is at that what we call prime processing age. But we take ours from start to finish, and we're able to give a homegrown product. We go the extra step to have it 21-day dry aged, and so you're not going to find a finer piece of beef in a fine restaurant as you can through ordering from Callison Ranch Beef.
Oh man, that and like you said, there's so many different avenues that you can be a part of in the cattle industry. And so just to hear that, it's not just the consumer that, is used to buying at the grocery store, but also, people that are in the same livelihood as you, but just in a different way, that are coming in and purchasing beef. So
exactly. And Dakota, and I say that just because if people want that option, and we offer that as an option, in no way do I want that to take away from people buying beef at the grocery store, because actually here on Callison Ranch, the beef that we raise from start to finish and sell direct is really only a small part of what we do. We're like a lot of other cattlemen. We sell steers that go on down the road that are going to end up in your grocery store. So we are pro beef, however people want to get it.
Absolutely. And that's, on our side, we have the ability where we have a few cow calves, but when my husband and I got married, almost 4 years ago now, we transitioned from him being primarily cow calf into the feeder calf operation. And so,
yes.
While we're not going to have a shortage of beef on our end, it's very much our product is going to the feedlot and then on to, ending up at a grocery store. And yes. So, but yeah.
And you're feeding lots of great families great beef. So we appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I tell you, beef, it's what's for dinner, breakfast, lunch. We love beef. And one of the other reasons, I just enjoy, all the content that you share, is you have some great recipes. And so I'm wondering, what are a couple of your, favorite quick and easy kind of go-tos that you make with beef?
I think my biggest go-to that I love is we have a Callison Ranch taco soup that I call it. And if somebody wants me to throw out the recipe real quick, I don't mind.
Yeah.
You just brown a package of ground beef, drain it, and then it takes a can of white hominy, a can of yellow hominy, a can of Rotel tomatoes, a can of regular just diced tomatoes, and a can of either corn or the Mexi corn. I like to find the Mexi corn. You just have to get it up high, but it just has red and green bell peppers in it. And then a can of pinto beans. And if you want to spice it up a little more, get the can of pinto beans with the jalapenos in it. But you don't drain any of those cans. After you've drained your beef, you just pour in all of those cans, and then 2 cans of water, and then put in a package of Lipton, I'm sorry, I gotta back up. A package of Hidden Valley Ranch dressing and a package of taco seasoning, and let that come to a boil and then simmer. Put some cheese and tortilla chips on it. It is amazing. It's easy to make for a huge crowd if you need to, or it freezes perfectly. So that would be a great go-to.
That sounds like it would be great for the crock pot, and I'm all about a crock pot. Like,
Yes.
it's like a wife, I mean, it is, it's doing the work while you're off doing the work. And so, yeah, I'll definitely have to try that out. Well, Nikki,
What is the go-to? Do you have a go-to? I always need a good recipe.
Well, I have no doubt that you've, made this before. But I love being able to just throw a roast together and leave it on all day in the crock pot, and it's so easy. And then from watching, some of your videos, I realized that I didn't need to be getting rid of that broth, the beef broth afterwards. So I've started, saving that, and just having it to incorporate either back into, another meal, or even warming it up and drinking it. So that's been really, again, your lemon water and a couple other things that you've taught me, through your videos you share. So that's probably my go-to. And, it's great because whatever you have left over, then you can have like roast beef sandwiches later in the week. It's just really easy, and we don't throw any of it away. So
Exactly. Well, it's funny. When I first started being on social media, I really hesitated in sharing any of my recipes because, I would watch these other people that everything was all from scratch. And that's not how I cook. I cook for utilitarian reasons. I grew up with 4 brothers. You've got to feed people.
Mhm.
And I have learned more and more, because I would say, well, just open a package of this. And I thought, well, that's probably not what people want. But I have found that people really do like that. It's like, okay, yes, I can get that, open it, make it easy, because my job is to feed my family, and they want to eat well.
Yes. I appreciate recipes like that, and then it makes it even more meaningful when I get to have something made from scratch that my grandma made, that's like
Yes.
a special occasion deal. Otherwise, we're definitely on the utilitarian side here as well. At our house. Nikki, I have so enjoyed getting to visit with you today. I've got just a couple of questions we'll roll through from the listeners before
Okay.
we wrap this up. I know you've got a big day ahead of you. So one of the questions was, what advice do you have for just being a strong woman?
For being a strong woman, I would say that it's much easier to be a strong woman if you know that there is a higher power than you. When I think about God and how he loves us and what he wants to do for us and what he's capable of, then it gives me strength. It gives me confidence, because I'm relying on something that is steadfast.
So good, Nikki. Do you miss teaching?
I miss teaching, yes. And I love teaching. And I think probably on my social media, that's one of the things that why I enjoy sharing things and ideas, and sharing what we do here on the ranch, because I really, really love kids, and I loved teaching when I did. I taught 4th and 5th grade. But, and that's one of the things I want to do here at the market is, in our big shipping area, I want the tables to be able to be rolled to the sides so that we can have classes and do things that relate to teaching.
Oh, that's going to be so much fun. Would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
Oh, that's actually a hard one for me. I'm the person that if I'm in a class, I'm the one that will sit there quiet probably for the first couple of sessions of the class, just observing everything. And but I don't mind being in people. I actually like doing some public speaking. That's one of my goals for 2021 is to have some public speaking engagements. So I'm kind of a middle of the road person. I really do enjoy my own company, so I can be alone, but I love people too.
Yes, yes. Okay, what is the wildest thing you've ever had to patch together, either on the ranch or while you've been traveling with duct tape, baling wire, or bungee cords?
That's a great question. You know, you've got to have a baling wire at all times. I would say that we've patched together a number of vehicles or fences. I ride the prairie. It's about 1,400 acres in the summer where we run some steers, and my horse Bo and I ride that ourselves. And I've had to find a piece of wire here and patch up. But I would think that the wildest thing that I've ever patched up was when I was barrel racing. I used to rodeo a lot with my family, and my tie down broke. And I pretty much created a tie down for my horse. If y'all aren't familiar, it goes under the bridle and helps the horse with their headset. And anyway, patch that up with some wire and duct tape.
Atta girl. You just got to get it done sometimes on
Get
the
it
fly.
done. That's right.
That's right. Nikki, I really like asking this question, to all of our guests. This podcast is dedicated to just sharing the cowgirl state of mind with women, whether they've never had the chance to sling their leg over a horse or they grew up in that lifestyle like you have. So what does the phrase cowgirl state of mind mean to you?
When I think of cowgirl state of mind, I think about freedom and independence. And I think that social media wants us as people, not just women, but people, to put you in a category. And I think that I love cowgirls because even within the category of cowgirls, so to speak, you have so many. It's a collective independence, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I think that as a cowgirl, it means spending time thinking about who you are, who you want to be, where you want to go, what impact you want to have in the world, and go do it. There's a line in Lonesome Dove that I love where Gus says, "This is where we find out who's really a cowboy." And I think about that with cowgirls. We've all got one life, and this is where we find out who's a cowgirl. And go out, be you, be independent, and when I say be independent, I don't mean from your family. I just mean from the ideas of the world, if that does not fit what your standards for life are.
Oh, such a beautiful answer. And I'm just like, grinning ear to ear right here, just with what you just shared. And really just love that answer and couldn't agree with you more. Just about how it's such a collective, there's so much freedom. And
yeah, you've been around rodeos, Dakota, and if you think about cowboys and cowgirls, they may all be sitting there with their boots and spurs and jeans and hats on, but everybody wants their little something that makes them unique or stand out, and everybody celebrates that.
Yeah, it's a great lifestyle and to be a part of, and I'm so thankful that I got to grow up in that, and having people like you that have shared in it as well, that we can introduce it to other people that haven't had that opportunity and make them feel welcome. And I truly believe that, you and Roger are doing that. Callison Ranch Beef is it's an extension of just kind of that rodeo world, but really that Western way of life, rural America, that I think people are hungry for it, Nikki. And,
I think you're right.
It's just exciting to see, how you guys are being good stewards of all the things that God's blessed you with, and as well as, just how you're serving others along the way.
You're very kind to say that, but I think you're right. When we started this direct to consumer beef, but it's really not about the beef. It's a gateway for people to see into our lifestyle, because you're right. They're hungry for something unique and something that throughout the generations, we still hold our standards high.
Oh man, I can't wait to get down there and visit the market. I know it's just going to be an awesome experience, and
we can't wait to have you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Nikki, can you tell everybody where they can follow along and keep up to date with what all's going on with you guys?
Yes, thank you so much. And Dakota, I answer your questions, but I want to sit here and ask you questions because I admire you so much. So thank you. And thank you for doing this podcast. I know a lot of work goes into that, but
well, you're welcome.
Anybody can find us on social media. We are at Callison Ranch Beef on Facebook or Instagram. It's also CallisonRanchBeef.com. Or if you want to email me directly, it's Nikki, Nikki, at CallisonRanchBeef.com. And so thank you guys for listening. And thank you, Dakota, for having me.
You bet, Nikki. Well, we will be in touch. And hey, maybe in the future, we'll have it and you can come on and ask me some questions because I haven't gotten brave enough to do a solo episode yet, but I've had some people ask, and it'd just be easier to have somebody ask me questions than just listen to myself talk.
I would love that.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you again, Nikki. I've so enjoyed it, and have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for spending your time with me on the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm so glad y'all stopped by. If you could take a moment to share this episode and tag us on social media, I'd be happier than a cowgirl in a sea of buy one, get one vintage turquoise. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode. New episodes will be released bi-monthly. Please leave us a review if you feel so led by going to iTunes. Your feedback will really help us breed the idea of grabbing life by the horns with a cowgirl state of mind into women across the globe. Some that may have never even had the privilege to throw their leg over a horse, but could most certainly use the cowgirl state of mind while navigating life. Thanks again, y'all. Until next time, keep pursuing your dreams with that all go and no woe mentality. Remember, you're writing a story that's worth saddling up for, sister.